Hey folks, it's Dave. Welcome to the basement. So, much like the vinyl collection, my CD collection has grown quite a bit, and we're only in the middle of March, so I'm going to split up the March update into two parts, this being the first, obviously. And we'll kick that off with somewhat of a new release, at least a 2024 release. This came out in January, and this is the fifth album by Lucifer, named Lucifer 5. They're definitely not original when it comes to naming their albums, but anyway, Lucifer is a German-Swedish doom occult band fronted by singer Johanna Andersson, and they first blipped up on my radar back in 2018 with their second album, which, if you have to guess, is what's called Lucifer 2. Back when the whole occult rock thing was really big, and of course it was kind of a tail end of that. But anyway, so I found out about this band, and ever since then I've been hooked. This is a really, really good band. They're you know, everything you think of Black Sabbath, and they just take it to the next level. There's a lot. This album is a good example of what their sound is. I mean, it's heavy, it's doomy, really hard rocking at times, sometimes a little psychedelic, if you in a Beatles sort of way, but I think they're at their best when they really rock out. And so to that end, I would say if you want to check out any songs on this album, the first track, Fallen Angel, is a really good one, really good rocker. But my favorite on the track is A Coffin Has No Silver Lining. Again, a really, really killer track, really scorches. Has a bit of a catchy chorus and a great riff to it. Anyway, that's the best track on the album in my opinion. So if you're into that doomy occult rock, especially with female vocals, go ahead and check out Lucifer's new album, Lucifer 5. All right, next up, this is the ninth studio album by Iggy Pop called Brick by Brick. Came out in 1990 on Virgin Records. And so this is kind of interesting because it features Duff McKagan and Slash, both not only as musicians on the album, but songwriters as well. And Waddy Wachtel played guitar on the album, and Kenny Aronoff was on drums. So with all of that kind of street cred, you would expect this to be a pretty heavy rocking album. Iggy himself even played guitar quite a bit on the album. You'd think it would be, or at least I thought it was going to be a heavier album than it actually is. But it's still a really good album. It's a well-executed, well-produced album, produced by Don Was, Don Was. Some tracks to check out. Home was a minor hit single. Neon Forest is a pretty catchy tune. Butttown apparently was highly praised by Beavis and Butthead, Butthead in particular. And but my favorite track on the album was Candy. It's a duet with Kate Pearson, who's, she's got a great voice, and her voice is just the perfect complement with Iggy. And I'm not alone in thinking that. I guess that was like a top 30 Billboard hit, so lots of people enjoyed that one. I think you still hear it on the radio every now and then. So yeah, this is Iggy's ninth, Brick by Brick from 1990. Pretty decent album. Not his best, but it's a decent effort. This next one was a complete blind buy for me. This is the debut album from a band called Carousel. It's Jeweler's Daughter, and it came out in 2013 on TP Records. And like I said, this is the debut album. They are, or were, a heavy rock band out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the guitarist, Twiz Twitzler, try to say that like once even fast. He was previously in a metal band out of Pittsburgh called Lady Beast, if anybody's familiar with that band. And yeah, pretty much what you get here is just a good hard rocking album. Twin guitar riffing, heavy on the bass. Reminds me at times of Thin Lizzy. Not like completely, but there's hints here and there of Thin Lizzy. If you want to check out a track, go with the title track, Jeweler's Daughter. It's a heavy, crushing sort of song, almost stoner rockish, but it was a pretty good one. I enjoyed that one. So yeah, this was a keeper. Good blind buy. This is Jeweler's Daughter by Carousel. All right, now this is a real recent release. Came out March 1st, actually, 2024. This is the band's 16th album. It's from Ministry. It's Hopium for the Masses. Came out on Nuclear Blast. And yeah, this was, I think, a really strong addition to the band's catalog. Just really heavy. It's for me, it's definitely a return to the early days of the band. It was hard for me to really pick a favorite track on this one. They're just so good. I mean, there's a couple of real duds here and there, but yeah, of the highlights, Goddamn White Trash, super energetic groove, reminds me of the Jesus Built My Hot Rod. It also features vocals from Pepper Keenan. There's a lot of guests on here. I'll go down them in a minute. Another one is Aryan Embarrassment. It's just this heavy, driving thrash track. Reminds me at times of SOD. And Jelly Biafra is on vocals, and Billy Morrison on guitar on that track. Let's see, Cult of Suffering. This one has sort of a more of a seductive groove to it. It's got female backing vocals, nice organ bits from Nine Inch Nails' Charlie Clouser, and vocals by a Ukrainian singer named Eugene. Let's see, where's that? Eugene Hertz, I think it is. So that was pretty interesting. And then finally, the last track on the album, Ricky's Hand. It's like straight up techno thrash, again with Charlie Clouser on keys. That one could have been a Rammstein track, if you ask me. Really good stuff. I'm glad I picked this one up, and I think if you're were at all or still are a fan of this band, this is one you're going to want to get. So yeah, this is Hopium for the Masses by Ministry. Another new release this year is this band's 7th album. This is Natural Magic by Kula Shaker. Came out in February, I believe, 2024 on, was it Strange Folk? Yeah, Strange Folk Records. So yeah, this is a pretty cool cover. I mean, see if you can, I mean, there's just so much going on in there. There's a turntable buried in there. Like, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on there. Look it up online. You'll see all sorts of cool stuff. Anyway, so the original keyboardist, Jay Darlington, is back in the band with this for this album. And, you know, I've been a fan of these guys. I stumbled across their debut album, I believe it was, in used, or in a record store, and used CDs. And the artwork just kind of drew me in, just got that psychedelic sort of artwork. Not as vivid as this, but still, and that's exactly what they were. Their cover did not deceive at all. They're definitely a neo-psych band, and this is another good neo-psych album. If you're familiar with Kula Shaker at all, you come to expect that. The title track is a really good highlight. If you want to check that out, it's got a sweet groove, the sing-along chorus, definitely a mover sort of song. And then Happy Birthday has kind of a seductive groove to it, some Eastern melodies, some female vocals. Really good stuff, yeah. Not as great as their debut, but this is still a really good solid album of neo-psych. So yeah, this is Natural Magic by Kula Shaker. All right, this is the second and most recent album from the Drugettes, called Clockwork Girls. Came out in 2018 on Violated Records. And the Drugettes are an all-girl punk band out of Pennsylvania, and they've got a sound that's, you know, it's kind of part oi, part Dropkick Murphys if they had female vocals. Just some really good punk, and they've got a little bit of, I don't want to say punk royalty, but punk renown with a couple of guests on here. There's Noel Martin from the English punks Menace and K Genocide from Revolt. But yeah, this is just really fun punk. Boover Girl stood out as pretty enjoyable to me. We Still Don't Love You is kind of a nice swipe at so-called music critics. Yeah, it's just a fun, energetic album. So if you're into some modern punk, give them a try. I haven't heard their first album yet, but this one's pretty good. Yeah. So Clockwork Girls by the Drugettes. All right, a little bit of modern synthwave now. This is Dead Blue from Still Corners. Came out in 2016 on Wrecking Light Records. And yeah, so this is their third album, and they are a London synthwave duo. Obviously, well, not obviously a duo, but obviously synthwave. Duo from London, featuring Tessa Murray on vocals. She's got a really great ethereal sort of voice, really interesting to listen to. And I tried to pick this apart like I usually do, looking for favorites and that, and it's really hard to do. This is just really just a full sort of album experience. It just all blends. I don't want to say blends together because that's the wrong way to put it, but it just kind of, it's just from end to end, it is an enjoyable listen. Let's put it that way. There's ups and downs and a lot more energy at times than there are on others. Like Dream Horse is probably the most energetic track, and it stands out for that. But the rest of it is just blends in really, really well. It's a really enjoyable listen. If you're a fan of modern synthwave, this is an album I definitely would recommend for you. Yeah, this is by Still Corners. This is, gosh, can't even remember. I already lost train of thought. Dead Blue by Still Corners. All right, a local band this time. They sort of came and went with a flash. Well, not even really a flash, more like a puff. But this is The Time Is Now by Back in Spades, and this was their debut and only album, self-released. And they are a sort of a garage rock revival band out of Detroit. They think of bands maybe like the Killers, the Strokes. They had that kind of a sound. They're sort of notable, I guess, for on guitar was Jackson Smith, who was the son of Patti Smith and Fred Sonic Smith. So yeah, and the rest of the band were members of various local and regional bands. Spit it out. Yeah, so what you get here is pretty much what you normally get with this garage rock revival sound. Some loud raw edge guitars mostly. The bass jumps up in the mix every now and then. A couple of songs that were interesting to me. There's Detroit Slums. Now I'm always a fan of a song that name drops my hometown, but really that's kind of it. It's an average sort of song. Got some cynical lyrics, but again, they're calling out Detroit, which is cool. Cowboys and Indians has a nice groove with some fuzzy guitar leads, and then the album ends with it's actually a one of those hidden tracks, City Slang. It's a cover of Fred Smith's Sonic Rendezvous Band song, City Slang. It's a worthy cover. It was enjoyable, and I dig the kind of whole tribute to this dad sort of thing. So that was pretty neat. But yeah, this was a decent effort. Won't blow you away, but if you're into that garage rock revival sound, you could do worse. So yeah, this is The Time Is Now by Back in Spades. So here's another blind buy. This is the self-titled album by Hex Inverter. Came out in 2015 on Red Scroll Records, and this was their debut album. And Hex Inverter is sort of a post-rock band out of Philly, featuring some members of Empty Flowers and some other bands these guys have been in. Not really familiar with any of them myself. This is like some really, really trippy stuff, sort of wall of sound, noise sort of stuff going on here. It's got some drone and trance elements, and then as the album progresses, it sort of veers into something you might hear on a sci-fi soundtrack. It's definitely interesting. Track that stood out to me was Bruise. It's got a real ominous tone to it, but I was kind of digging it. There was something about that song I just was enjoying. Yeah, this is definitely not for everybody, but I will say it's interesting. So yeah, this is a self-titled album from Hex Inverter. All right, we're going to wrap this video up by staying in Philly. This is the second and final album called Here on the Outside by a band called Tidewater Grain. And they are a bro rock band. I mean, I think probably correct term is post-grunge or something like that. But yeah, they're sort of similar to maybe like Seven Dust or heavier Three Doors Down, possibly. Sort of that 2000 turn of the century radio friendly rock. I don't know if I said it came out. This did come out in 2000 on Warner Brothers Records, and this was their second and final album. Yeah, a couple of tracks on here. Pedal or the Brake was not bad. Had some good energy to it. Annie Helicopter actually had a pretty good groove to it. Onward Spaceman had some nice vocal harmonies. It exceeded my expectations. Just looking at the band photo on the back, I sort of expected what it pretty much is, but it exceeded those expectations. It wasn't bad, not great, but it was still enjoyable. I enjoyed most of it. So yeah, if the post grunge thing is your scene and you haven't heard of these guys, yeah, check them out a little bit. They might be right up your alley. So yeah, this is Here on the Outside by Tidewater Grain. All right, that's it for the CDs for the first half of March. Hope you saw something that you might want to check out. If you have heard some of these albums or have some of them in your collection, appreciate if you drop me a comment. Let's talk about them. Otherwise, maybe give me a like, subscribe. That would be great. And then I will catch you next time. Until then, take care of yourself.